What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week of NFL picks. And it is week 9. It is officially the halfway point of the year. After this week, we will officially be halfway through the season. And it's so hard to believe. It feels like it's going by. But that's how it feels almost every year. Got some important games this week. In terms of really, maybe it's still a little too early, but the playoff picture, it's no longer just kind of a moot point. It kind of, really is starting to materialize as we are now in November. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with the results from last week, I went 10-6. It was a little bit of a dip from what I've been doing, but it was still pretty solid. Overall record, 75-48. Lock of the week, 7-1, and upset of the week, 0-8. Still haven't gotten an upset of the week. Do have two teams on bye weeks this week, both coming off wins in prime time. The Pittsburgh Steelers got the win versus the Giants. They go into their bye 6-2, and then Pittsburgh's looking good right now. They really are looking good. And then the San Francisco 49ers, the defending NFC champions, 4-4 at 500, coming off a big win versus Dallas on Sunday night. As they look to get healthy, hopefully Christian McCaffrey can be back for them after the bye, and we'll see if the 49ers can finally get this thing off and running. But we do have Thursday night football on Halloween. Thursday night football on Halloween. Definitely an interesting, unique combination. The Houston Texans at the New York Jets. Now, this is a game that I really feel like you obviously know who the better team is. But honestly, a few weeks ago, I definitely think could have been a upset contender. I do. I think when there was still a little bit of hope to the Jets after just trading for Devontae Adams. But with the mess that the Jets are, it's just, even though you want to throw a bullet at it, I can't. The Texans are clearly the better team by miles. The Jets, it's a short week. All the talk of the dysfunction, it's going to be really hard to bounce back. So I got to go ahead. I got to give this to the Texans here. Pick up the win. And go to 7-2. And the Jets drop to 2-7 and what has been a disaster season for them. Heading into our Sunday window, we'll talk about this matchup. The New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers play for the bottom of the NFC South. There's really ain't much else I think, you can say. Both these teams are absolutely awful. The Saints are riding a 6-game losing streak. They hope that Derek Carr can come back this week for them. Carolina, as it's absolute dysfunction. Obviously, I welcome it for both the teams, especially the away team in this scenario. And I think this could be a very ugly ball game, but I'm gonna have to give this one to the Saints. Even though I could honestly see there being a scenario where maybe Carolina does win. The Saints, I do think they are the better team here. So I got to give this to them. I do. They're going to win another game, unfortunately. Hopefully they won't. But I do have to give them the win here. Carolina, get another loss in what's been another bad season. Next game, another divisional game. We got, a lot of division games this week. Washington 6-2, man. Washington, you want to maybe honestly talk about what has been the story of the NFL so far this season. it might be Washington with Jaden Daniels and obviously how that game ended last week. That's honestly a once in every 5 year or so type ending. You only see that once every 5 years. And they're playing the New York Giants, looking to sweep them. They are in the Meadowlands. Now, I will say this. It feels like the Giants, even though they're obviously, it doesn't feel like they have the quarterback. There's other elements to the team that definitely, I think that they're manageable. They got a very solid front on defense. I really think where they lack is, playmakers on offense, and obviously they don't have a good quarterback. But it feels like, Washington they're going to be bound at some point to drop one of these games. And I know they just had that incredible ending, but it's a division game. I think anything can happen. I'm going to mark this as my upset of the week. I think the Giants are going to get the win and go to 3-6 on the year. It feels like Washington is due for a loss. It does, but it feels like maybe not the highest scoring game. And the Giants ultimately take advantage and pull off the upset. Next game we have here, another divisional game. The Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. And Miami, it hasn't been a good season for them. They do have Tua back, but it's kind of at this point, it's what really is there left to their season. Now, as far as the Bills go, obviously a lot to play for. They've been playing really good football this year. I got to give this one to the Bills. They're the better team. They're at home. It could. Now, the one thing about this game, maybe the Dolphins could upset them just because the Bills are due for a loss, but I don't really see it. I don't see it. I think Buffalo's the better team. They'll come out and they'll take care of business. Next game, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. Man, Cleveland, they a very big win last week versus Baltimore. I kind of had a feeling it could happen. The Chargers getting over 500 with a win versus the Saints. And honestly, I could see Cleveland keeping this game close. I definitely could. But I do feel like the Chargers, they're in a better spot. They are a better team. I do got to give them the win here, even though, Cleveland, they could potentially get another win here. And if they do, that maybe at least salvaging some parts of the season. But I got to give the Chargers a win here. Just feels like, they're going to pull this one out. Next game, you want to talk about some, some trash games this week. Here's another one. New England at Tennessee. This is pretty much a tank bowl at this point. Kind of a tough one to pick, but with Drake May, I don't know what his status is, but, Tennessee is at home. I'm going to have to give this one to the Titans. Just feels like they gotta win another game. That's the thing with the NFL, man. No matter how good or how bad you are, you're always due for a win or loss at some point. And I just feel like Tennessee, it's not going to be a very competitive game at all, but I got to get them the win here. Next game here, obviously not going to talk too much about it. It is a very big game, I think. Probably the marquee game of the 1 o'clock window, I would say. And it's the Falcons, my Atlanta Falcons, hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Now I'm going to go ahead and just say that this is one of those games. It's honestly kind of hard to see how this game could go, because I think there's a scenario where the Falcons can win and lose this game. But I'm going to pick us to win. We haven't beaten Dallas in 7 years, and I think it's time. It's time for us to beat the Cowboys again. I think if we can keep it a close game, I like our odds. We just can't let Dallas come out and dominate early, which Dallas really hasn't done this year, maybe with the exception of week 1. But they really have struggled with that. So you just need to dominate with your offense. I'll talk about it more later in the week. But I think you Falcons were due for a win against the Cowboys. So I'm going to pick us. Next game, the Raiders at the Bengals. Another one, two teams that don't really look good, but Cincinnati, if you have any chance, and I mean any chance of staying competitive, feels like that this is a last gasp, last breath of hope. I do think they're going to come out and take care of business. I wouldn't be shocked if it. I mean, I could see them honestly routing the Raiders. It's just Vegas isn't a good team. They don't have a quarterback, and when you don't have a quarterback in this league, that makes it way harder on everything else to run smoothly. So I'm going to have to give this to the Bengals. Next game, battle of 2 5-3 teams. A interesting matchup. The Denver Broncos at the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore, they got upset by Cleveland. And Denver, you really want to talk about what it kind of is for them. They got a little winning streak going here. So Denver's really looking to build in Bo Nix's rookie season. Obviously, Sean Payton's second year. But I got to be honest. This feels like a game the Ravens win, so much so I'm actually going to put this in as a lock of the week. I don't see where Baltimore loses. Now, kind of is a little more of a controversial one, but, to put at least in a lock of the week category, saying there's no way Denver wins, but I just feel like that this is a game Baltimore cannot lose. Heading into the 4 o'clock window, we got the Chicago Bears at the Arizona Cardinals, the NFC West leading Arizona Cardinals. I don't think too many people were expecting that, considering the other teams in that division. But Arizona's been playing solid football. Have they been playing great football? No, but they've been playing ball to the point where they can win these games. They're staying in them. They're just sticking around, and they're finding ways to gut these games out. And this is another game that I think you could definitely make the case for the Cardinals winning, but it just feels like Chicago's going to win this game. After what happened, with how that game ended in Washington, they have to get their win. And I feel like they're going to do it this week in Arizona. Definitely going to be a close game. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this to Chicago. Next game, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Philadelphia Eagles. Jacksonville, they played the Packers tough, but still it wasn't enough to get the win. And Philly is really getting, it was really getting their feet wet. They're finally getting into a groove. They got Saquon going. And if they can start playing their style of football, they can really get back in this thing. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't see really Jacksonville winning this game. It is Doug Peterson's return to Philadelphia. I do think that's worth noting, as he's really on the hot seat. I mean, if they lose, Doug Peterson's probably fighting for his job this week. If they lose, he's probably good as gone. So I got to go ahead, though. I got to give this to Philly. They're just the better team, man. 425. The LA Rams at the Seattle Seahawks, and this is a very tough one to pick. This is a game you could see either team winning, and it's just so tough to pick because it feels like they're in a very similar boat right now, in an NFC West division that every team right now is in. But ultimately, I got to give this one to Seattle because they are at home, and it feels like they're going to do enough to pull out a win here. It feels like the Rams, they still have a few issues that need to get clicked out. And I think the Rams are going to be okay. I feel like they're definitely going to be in it at the end of the year. but it just feels like, that they're gonna struggle in this type of game. And I got to go ahead and give Seattle the win. Now, next game we have here, and this is a monstrous game, and I really think not just for the NFC North, but potentially for the top seed of the NFC. The Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. This is going to be a good one right here. Game of the week, Fox. The NFC North is the best division in football, and there's no one that I think can argue with that. Every team is over 500. Every team is playing solid ball. And I could see either team winning this game. I definitely think, this is a game the Lions have proven they're not, that doesn't faze them. They can absolutely come out and win this game. But I gotta go with the Packers here. I just feel like the Packers are gonna find a way to pull this out. Will be a very close game. Could see it, coming down to the very end, maybe a game-winning field goal. I feel like Green Bay's gonna pull this out, and get the win here. Sunday Night Football. This game was actually flexed. This was originally supposed to be the Jacksonville-Philadelphia game, but it was flexed. We have the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota, after starting 5-0, they have lost 2 straight, so they're looking to get back in the win column. And for Indy, it's been an up and down year, but I think the choice is clear for quarterback. They are a much better team with Joe Flacco. But regardless in this game, Minnesota, I feel like, is the better team. They're at home. They're going to have that home field advantage. And when the bank is going, it is going, and it's very tough to go in there and get a win. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give this to the Vikings. I think they pick up the win here and go to 6-2. Indy drops under 500. And finally, on Monday night from Arrowhead Stadium, the undefeated Chiefs, the lone undefeated team in the NFL, hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who really are trying to avoid dropping under 500. Obviously suffering a lot of injuries. And I tell you, I feel like if Tampa had their receivers, this could be a game that they pull out, because the Chiefs, they're not blowing any team away. Their defense is doing enough for them to win at the end. And I feel like that's what's going to happen in this one, where Tampa could stay in it throughout the entire game. But in the end, the Chiefs are going to come out on top because they are the Chiefs. It's Patrick Mahomes. But they're not putting anyone away. But I do think the Chiefs win. They go to 8-0 on the year. Tampa drops under 500. And with that being said, Week 9, halfway through the season, man, I tell you, it feels like it's been going by so far, but we still got a lot of fun football ahead of us. So let's just enjoy it, and I will see you all in the next one.